Thank you to all those who actually do listen and support this venture of mine, and so I am extremely grateful. I am not I'm not a funny guy. I'm not the guy who goes, "Hey, how you doing, folks, and welcome to my talk show." No, I can't do that. That'll be quite not quite genuine of me. I mean, I could put on a voice and I could do a bit of a jingle, but that's not me, and that's not the reason why I've jumped on here. And so I'll allow those folks who are able to go, "Hey, and welcome to my podcast, and this is so and so, and have a wonderful day, and let's talk about sex lies and video fucking tapes." Good on them, and more power to them. That's not the reason why I'm on here. I found a voice. I found a platform. This is quite therapeutic. It gives me an opportunity to speak my mind in a very safe environment, a very controlled environment, because I have a tendency of putting my foot in it. And I do that in a lot of scenarios and in a lot of situations I'm in, and people quite easily misunderstand me. And the reason why I tend to be quite forward, whereas my opinions are concerned, it's not that I'm trying to offend. It's more, firstly, it is more my ability to understand and how I phrase my thoughts, which sometimes could expose me, or allows people who are sitting across the dining table or who are sitting across me, they could tend to misunderstand the way I project or the way I speak, because I sometimes do have because of my acting abilities, I tend to project my voice a bit, and I tend not to be too monotonous in how I speak. So because of my speech impediment as well, I have sort of trained myself to emphasize on certain words so I can mask my inabilities. And I think as the years have progressed, that's become a part of who I am. So anyway, talking about life, talking about social media, talking about intimacy, etc. There were a couple of podcasts ago where I was talking about things like intimacy, and things like how technology has an influence in our lives, and as we progress, it probably is going to consume some of us more than others. But what I strongly recommend us to do is attempt to step away from our phones, step away from our computer screens, and try to do it the old-fashioned way, where we do interact across the dining table without the interference of technology. Because I think it's going to be quite a dark world if, my personal opinion, I think many of us will go into extinction. There'll be many races in the civilized world that will go into extinction, and that will only be because many of us, a large minority of us, are going to be dependent on technology. I mean, AI is coming coming you're coming a long way. It is expanding, and the technology is improving. Us having sexual encounters, there are programs and technology that's being created where I could sit behind my desk and crudely put jerk off and feel the presence of another human being. But it's not another human being. It's technology giving me that ability, the convenience of not having to go and look for a mate, or go and let's call it a hookup. I do talk to, I'm a very transparent individual. I don't shy away from conversations, and that's the reason why sometimes my conversations may in certain groups seem provocative, not because I'm deliberately trying to be provocative. It is just simply who I am. I've always had a curious mind. While growing up, I've always had a curious mind, and that has got me into trouble. But I don't deliberately look to be provocative. I am quite a curious mind, and when I was a young man, I was quite curious, and my curiosity made me seem a bit of an introvert. But I was It's not that I was not engaging with people. I was simply trying to understand what makes the individual tick. And because of my experiences as a young man growing up, there was a lot that was happening in my immediate environment, and therefore there was a lot I was trying to learn. I was trying to decipher, right from wrong, and there were losses and there were few gains, and the complexities of life. And that's another thing. Life was never meant to be easy for some of us. And there's nothing wrong in hardship. I think it's what you extract from those experiences in life that makes you appreciate life a lot more. I think if I never had those experiences in my life, and this is not a reflection of this is not a reflection on people I've interacted with. I think if I hadn't had those experiences in life, at the same time, if I hadn't had those teachers who taught me, like my grandmother, my mother, who taught me lessons quietly, and those lessons that were taught to me made me a lot more resilient. And therefore has given me the opportunity and maybe the strength and the knowledge to be able to share my experiences with other people. I don't want people who are listening to my conversations to think that this is me having a pity party. No, this is not a pity party. I've come a long way. I am quite successful within my own rights. I do have a lot of convenience and resources around me that I extract strength from, and I built a small community around me that is quite resilient, quite helpful, and I think extreme dependable. It's a give and take relationship that I've built with certain people around me, and they can depend on me and they can rely on me 100%, and I can rely on them and I can depend on them 100%. And the interaction is entirely and completely genuine. Now, going back to certain observations I've had in other groups, what other groups lack is the intimacy. And when I talk intimacy, I'm talking about the truth, the honesty. I should be able to tell a friend what I feel without having to second guess myself, or without having to go, guess what? Am I offending this individual? Because if we are friends, then I should be able to give that friend the opportunity to say, Neil, guess what? Can you explain yourself? Or we are in a position where we can have disagreements, and we can walk away from those disagreements, but we can basically then, in a couple of hours or in a couple of days, once we've processed that information or that conflict, we can then come back together and say, you know what, it was yesterday, and you have your opinions, I have mine. Let's sit down and let's put that aside, and because of our understanding of each other, we know there's more to us than those minor disagreements, because they are minor disagreements. The subject matter may be intense, but they in a bigger picture, there are minor disagreements. But what I'm trying to say is we have to try to find that intimacy back again. I remember when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I've gone through technology. So where it comes to cassette players, Walkmans, Nanos, Blu-rays, I've gone through it all, and now it's my mobile phone which does everything for me. From organizing my Excel sheet to my shopping list to turning on my freaking TV. The phone does everything for you. But I've gone through technology, and that's what scares me with the advancement of technology. And it's isolating us from having those intimate interactions, those honest interactions with people. I see a lot of conversations on my Facebook page with people I know, and I see those conversations and I go, that is truly not you. That is you pretending to be a certain way because you have this large number of people following you, and you are under the impression that every single person on your Facebook page is paying attention to every single conversation that you have, and that's what we are sort of in. There's this false sense of belonging And I think as we progress in age, that's when we will realize, especially the generations to come, the amount of time they spend on technology. I'm sure human beings will evolve, but I think as you progress in age and your abilities diminish, that's when we will understand the repercussions of the dependency to technology. Yes, I do agree that some people do need technology, and it is going to be helpful for certain parts of our society, but a very small portion. But for the rest of us, I think we need to go out there. We need to enjoy, and and the risk of losing livelihoods, I think, is something that we need to focus on. And before I end this conversation, before I end this conversation, we need to think about livelihoods. We need to think about jobs. Why are we going to substitute jobs, people who can actually carry out certain tasks, and put technology in its place? Because that will only lead to a very sad world. And if we are bringing young people into this world, their generations are going to find it so much more harder and tougher, to put to put a roof over their heads and to earn a decent living. And we see it now. We see the struggles now, but I also see this hypocrisy. We talk about no housing, for example. That's been the news has been inundated. Lack of housing, lack of housing, lack of housing. But then I go ahead and see millions of dollars being put into a sporting events that only a very small percentage of people. Yes, it is going to probably increase employment, but is it truly going to increase employment? If technology is taking over, I don't see these stadiums being manned by many people. Instead, if you walk through the gates will be automated, the tickets will be automated. So there'll be only 5% of people in the workplace, and 95% is going to be technology, which means that 95% that is taken over by technology, yes, some people do have to run the technology, but how many people are required to basically run a program behind the computer screen? So that's something that scares me, and that scares me for the future generations. Anyway, I've babbled quite a bit this afternoon. You guys take care, look after yourselves, be well, and be true. That's all I can say. Take care. Bye.